Today, I want to go through some of the biggest stories in the news about President Trump, Senator Ted Cruz, what's going on in our country. To help me do that, I have Ben Furgosen. Ben, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, man, it's great to be with you. Your weather is better where you are right now than where I am in Houston, so I'm jealous of your humidity and your weather. I just want you to know that forever. Amen.
Yeah, we do have really good weather up
It's
here
unbelievable.
in Utah.
It's unbelievable.
Let me give my audience some background. So Ben is the host of the Ben Furgosen Show. He also co-hosts with Senator Ted Cruz, The Verdict. And you guys have done really well with both of your shows. I think your Elon Musk was one of the biggest shows on the internet at the time.
Yeah.
And you've got a new show out, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But it always feels a little bit weird to show a guest a video of themselves. But you had a video go viral about fighting about our government lying to us over on CNN. And it got a lot of attention. So I want to show that to my audience just in case they haven't seen it, and then we'll discuss it. So let me show that, and then we'll react to it.
And they're not outlawed. That's good. The parents are going to decide. Two, there's a cause and effect, and the CDC lied to us about COVID, and they lied a lot. They lied about masks in school.
Not true.
They lied about distancing. They lied about the efficiency or the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine.
Not true.
It is true. They said that distancing.
The
Hold on, wait.
CDC
Did they not lie about the effectiveness of a mask when internal documents
if you
said
talk about
that the
certain
mask
types
did not
of
work in the
masks,
schools?
if we're looking at high
And the
quality
plexiglass
masks, if we're
didn't
looking
work.
at high quality masks, right? So
That's not what they said.
P95 masks,
I would love it if they
those
would've said that.
masks
They
actually
didn't say
prevent
that.
infections. Because
They
look,
didn't
this
say
is the
that.
way science works.
Hold on,
Science works
wait,
that
let
as
me
you get
finish and
data,
answer the
the
question
type
she was
of
asking.
communication that you
I
give
this
improves.
is why
You can't say the
this is
CDC
why
lied.
Florida is doing right now.
You can't say
I
the
think
CDC
I actually think it's important.
It's very
for her,
important.
What they just
if
did.
you're saying
No,
things that are
they're doing that
not
because of malpractice for
accurate,
political
I do think it's
bullshit.
fair for her to counter
the
that.
CDC said that masking was effective and worked when they knew internal documents said.
It
and
does
the emails
work.
came out that it didn't work.
Okay, well, what
True or
she
false?
does. Okay, well,
6 foot distancing.
hold on a
True or
second.
false? The CDC say
hold on a
that
second.
6
Misinformation,
foot
folks.
worked, and it
You're
didn't.
seeing it in action.
First of all,
They said it was going to stop the spread.
Misinformation.
Ben, are you gonna have a conversation, or are you just gonna keep talking? Look, hold on. Okay. First of all, what she is disputing is your language around this, which is that they lied.
Yes, exactly.
Which she's saying, and I think she's right about this, is not true. There are certain types of masks that work better than others.
We've been using
Abby,
masks
and
for
B,
decades.
the whole point of
emails-
science. I mean, and this is,
Abby,
I think
this
that,
is why Florida did this.
let me
This is
just
what you guys
bring-
don't understand.
hold on.
There's a cause and effect.
Hold
The
on a
American
second.
people don't trust the
Hold on a
CDC.
That's why Florida.
That goes on for a little bit. What is it like to sit in the presence of people that have bought into government lies?
Yeah, no, it's funny because people say to me, I spent 7 years at CNN as a conservative commentator back when Trump came after CNN with like fake news every day. And it's interesting because I left, and then in essence, Scott Jennings was doing what I was doing for the last 7 years. I'm like, hey, buddy, good luck. There's a pendulum now that's swinging. And if you notice, they call me like, will you come back on? And I was like, I mean, sure. I honestly went in with the mentality like I'm going to burn it down. Like this is going to be awesome. I might get invited back one time, and let's just go for it. But what I realize is you've got to call these people out. And then if you get these videos now that go viral, that didn't happen when I was there the first time. Social media has changed it. So I'm doing that show for exactly the reason you and I are talking now. Not for the people that are watching that night. It's for what might be seen afterwards. And so you look at these moments and you go in and they're sitting there and they're like, all these people are going to die in Florida. This is insane. I can't believe this is happening. You're putting people's lives there. I'm like, hold on. And if you notice what I said and what made the meme right, number one, that no one banned vaccines. That's a good thing. Number two, this is a parental rights issue, which it should always be. Number three, I never want the government to mandate anything when it comes to vaccines ever again, even if I believe in the vaccine, because of the abuse of power that we witnessed during COVID-19. And that's when I said this is a cause and effect. Now, I don't think they actually learn from anything right now that's going to help us as conservatives win more elections. That's the good news out of this. But that was the point I was trying to get across them was you guys don't understand. When you do what you did, and you lied about the efficiency and the effectiveness, when you lied about masks, when you lied about the 6 foot, when you lied about the 2 weeks to stop the spread, when you said the vaccine was safe and you knew that there were heart issues that were happening in patients, when you also knew the effectiveness when you did take it, was not 100%. Remember when they said if you get the vaccine, you walk around and you're not going to get COVID? Go live your life right after they locked us up. And then you find out about the corruption. The teachers union, you notice there she said, well, you need to trust the science. I'm a doctor, right? The condescending arrogance of that doctor there. And I'm like, I said later in the interview, I'm like, this is why Americans don't trust you, because you don't listen to your patients. And you say, trust the science. True or false? Did the CDC work with the teachers union to change when kids went back to school because of the teachers union putting pressure to not go back in the classroom? That's not trusting any science at all. And that is political propaganda by the teachers unions who said, we don't want to go back to school. We're going to claim it's because of COVID, even though we were doing incredible amounts of damage to kids in our public schools in this country. And they also didn't want to have people go back to work in general. The whole be lazy and work from home. I'm not saying everybody was lazy, but we know proficiency went down. We know that companies were struggling during that time. I owned businesses, small businesses, and I needed people to show up. And they'd be like, well, I don't really want to come in. Like, I want to take the free money. Remember the COVID money, right? Don't go to work and we pay you. It is amazing that even after the emails come out, we know they lied about the mask. We know they lied about the vaccine. We know they lied about the side effects. And they're like, no, that's not true. I'm like, we have the emails. And so when you make those points, my goal is at least maybe it'll go viral and people will respond to it and they'll get into the game and they'll expose it for what it is, because you can't do that on the show. If you notice, like, are you going to just keep talking, Ben? Are you going to keep talking? You're going to shut up. And I just smile and smirk. I'm like, hopefully that clip, and it went to millions and millions of people now, so it was worth it.
Yeah. Ben, do you believe that they actually believe those government lies, or do you think some of their reality is shaped by the fact that 80% of CNN's income comes from big pharma?
Yeah, I don't think that in that conversation tonight, it was actually about the ads that play. I actually believe that they believe that whatever the government says must be the truth. They believe that government is God. You look at a news story that happened today. Tim Waltz was at an event. I want to give you the exact language because it was so shocking. Tim Waltz, sorry, not Tim Waltz. Let me rephrase that. Tim Kaine, excuse me, testified, quote, that constitutional rights come from government, not God. They believe that government is a God. And they believe that government is the answer to everything, and that you worship it, you bow down to it. If the government comes in and says you can't have a gun, they're like, that's the government. If the government says you must get a vaccine, then you must do it. If the government says you must stand 6 feet apart, you must do it. If the government comes in and says you can't sing in church, then they say do it. This is what you call the demise of a country. It's, by the way, what is literally the demise of the Democratic Party right now. It's no longer a Democratic Party. It's filled with socialists, Marxists, and communists. They've been policed by no one in their own party, and they've now taken over. So I actually do believe they believe everything they're saying.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
It's scary.
Yeah, it is. And that's why my first question was like, is it so weird to sit in the presence of somebody that's so disconnected from the reality that you and I might share? Speaking of Tim Kaine, former vice presidential candidate under the failed Hillary Clinton, basically said the government gives you your rights, not God, not your creator. Ted Cruz had a great reaction and rebuttal to that. Let's watch this together.
Yeah.
Mr. Barnes, I'd actually like to go back to the exchange you had with Senator Kaine, and I wish Senator Kaine was still here. Senator Kaine and I were elected together 13 years ago. He is a friend. I would actually encourage observers to go back and listen to what Senator Kaine said, because I have to say I think was disturbing and showed much of where today's Democrat Party has gone wrong. So Senator Kaine said in this hearing that he found it a radical and dangerous notion that you would say our rights came from God and not from government. I just walked into the hearing as he was saying that, and I almost fell out of my chair. Because that radical and dangerous notion, in his words, is literally the founding principle upon which the United States of America was created. And if you do not believe me, and you made reference to this, Mr. Barnes, then you can believe perhaps the most prominent Virginian to ever serve Thomas Jefferson, who wrote in the Declaration of Independence, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator, not by government, not by the Democratic National Committee, but by God, with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." I have to say, it is stunning to me that the principle that God has given us natural rights is now deemed by Democrats some radical and dangerous notion. Mr. Jefferson was right when he wrote those words.
All right. I mean, isn't that one thing that makes America unique? We have the right to say what we want as long as it's not endangering. We have the right to, defend our bodies, our homes, that we have the right to believe in a creator. Like, I look at governments around the world where they're authoritarian and they really control their citizens' lives. That's not freedom to me. I wouldn't want to live. And isn't this what makes America great?
Sure. But it's also the part that when I say this often on my show, when Democrats tell you who they are, believe them. When they tell you they hate America, believe them. When they tell you they hate Jewish people, believe them. When they say that they support the Palestinians and the terrorists and the river to the sea, believe them. There was very interesting, and I put this up on X. Bishop Robert Barron responded to this disturbing line of thought, I think, from Senator Tim Kaine, and he put it up there. It was like a 3-minute video, and I would encourage people to go watch it. I'm not Catholic, but it was a very powerful, I think, from the bishop, commentary on the history of America, religion in general, and faith, and how dangerous this mindset is. But if you are a Marxist or a socialist or a communist, you have to first dismantle the system that is working. You have to dismantle people's faith in God. Then you have to dismantle the family. You have to replace it with the state. And then you gain your power over everyone because they're reliant on you as their God, as their state, as their provider. It's one of the reasons why I think we have to deal with the issue of welfare reform at some point, right? Because when the state stepped in and started being the father to every child in America, it allowed deadbeat dads to no longer be like shunned by society. You go back and there's a lot of books that look at the Great Depression. And there was one thing that happened during the Great Depression. Men who did not go down to the docks and try to get day labor work, and men that just kind of stopped, they were shunned by the society of other men and women around them, the community, their neighborhoods, because the government wasn't stepping in the way that the government now steps in, which is, hey, we'll be the dad. This is our government to any child, right? So if you're a father and you want to run out there and impregnate and procreate, there is zero accountability or responsibility, because immediately the government, and this is how Democrats get power, we will pay for the food. We will pay for the healthcare. We will pay for the subsidized housing. Hell, we'll give you a phone. We'll give you free internet now, right? But if you do that, then you own people like modern day slaves. So they're going to vote for you because you're giving them this. And then not only that, see, we've incentivized, because of people like the senator you just heard, to actually be more irresponsible. Like, hey, you got 3 kids, we'll give you more money if you have a 4th. Like, we don't cut off irresponsibility. We reward it. You have 5 kids, 6 kids with no dads. We do this. And so I think what you're witnessing right now is that dismantling is what the left's trying to do of the fundamentals of this country. You undermine the rule of law. Hell, you undermine the Supreme Court, right? You delegitimize anything that is legitimate. Anybody you don't like, Donald Trump, we raid his house. Donald Trump, we put him in jail. Donald Trump, we try to bankrupt him. Anyone around Donald Trump that we think is a threat. And so what happens? Well, then good people say, maybe I don't want to run for office. The psychological warfare, and I work in politics, and I sit down with a lot of prospective candidates, and I help do advice and consulting. I cannot tell you now how many people are now not running for office that are good men and women in this country because of the lawfare threat. They're worried that when the pendulum does go back to the left, and it does, right? You had Carter that gave us Reagan, and then you had Reagan, and you had Bush in there, but then you had Bill Clinton, right? And then you had Bush again, then you had Obama, and it goes, well, you see the pendulum swing. but you may be fine now, but in 3 years, they could come after you and try to put you in jail. And not try. The Democratic Party has declared war on any conservative. They want to bankrupt you if you're influential. They want to undermine you if you're elected, and they want you to lose your seat, and they're willing to put you in jail to do it. They did it to Donald Trump. And so there are people that are encouraged by Trump and standing up. But this is part of dismantling of society by the left. And I think it's very dangerous because we're probably losing some of our best candidates ever in the Republican Party right now, because there are good men and women that would normally serve, but they're not willing to go to jail as a political prisoner or have their entire livelihoods taken away from them because of the media and the left deciding we want to destroy your life.
Yeah. Losing weight can feel like an uphill battle, especially with the American diet. From nasty seed oils that hurt us to high fructose corn syrup that actually makes us more hungry. Americans have wrecked their gut health. This is where ThermoTrim steps in as a smart, science-backed solution. This USA-made fat burner starts by restoring your gut health. ThermoTrim has a gut bacteria found in thinner people, but not heavier Americans. ThermoTrim helps restore that so you can lose weight. It supports digestion and curbs cravings naturally. Have you tried other products to lose weight and change your health? I have. ThermoTrim is what my body needed. Get ThermoTrim to improve your gut health and start losing weight today. Visit redlineremedies.com or snap the QR code. Make sure to use code Gardner to get an additional 20% off today. We all feel better when we lose weight, and I want you to live a long and happy life. Wow, that is a really great point. You and I were talking off camera about Mitt Romney, somebody that I don't particularly care for, but he's from my state of Utah. But after he ran for president and lost, he said in an interview, you know, good people don't run for government because they don't want their families torn apart.
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense at the time, but now I've seen what they've done to the Trump family, and I worry what they might do to the Vance family or the Rubio family or you know, whoever it might be in 2028. I think they may have said, you know what, this plan worked, but we launched it too early. Donald Trump was too strong. We'll go after the next person and destroy their life. This is real banana republic thinking. And Biden, I want to switch gears onto this. The Biden administration, it was disclosed today that the Department of Education just revealed that the Biden administration weaponized the department against Christians.
Yeah.
People need to be jailed over this. They imposed record-breaking fines against Christian universities, targeted school boards who listened to religious objections from presidents. The DOJ under Biden, you know, they target these Christian schools. The Biden FBI targeted Catholics and homeschoolers. Any parent that questioned the government or the school was labeled a domestic terrorist. I thought Biden was a Christian. Was this guy so mentally blown that he didn't even know that everyone under him was trying to systematically destroy Christians?
Yeah, look, I go back to what I said a moment ago. When the Democrats tell you who they are and what they want to do, believe them. And you go back to the letter that went out, and let's start with the parents. You had the FBI field offices receive information from the FBI that said you were to treat parents that show up at school board meetings, in essence, saying things that we don't like, as domestic terrorists. You're going to treat them the same way we treat Al-Qaeda and ISIS. And you get on a list. My question is, how do you get off the list once you're on the list, right? I show up as a concerned parent because you're letting a dude who acts like a chick in a bathroom who then sexually assaults a child go back to Virginia. Why we have Governor Youngkin there right now. And what did they do? They moved the child because they cared more about transgenderism than protecting children from a sexual deviant who is assaulting women, girls in the locker room. And what do? They moved him to another school. And then they said, no, you can't say him. It's a girl. So then he did it again. And they said, well, you can't say him, right? He did it again. And then parents showed up and lost their minds. And they're like, oh, those are terrorists. Yeah, well, let's call them, let's treat them like terrorists. Let's intimidate them. Let's go into their homes. Let's arrest some of them. Let's send a message that you don't really have a right to show up at a school board meeting and tell the school what you think, whether it's that, whether it's masking, whether it's 6-foot rule, whether it's not having classes for the kids when clearly they should have been back in the schools. And that goes back to who they are. I truly believe the Democratic Party is dead. I believe it's been dead for a while. And I believe that the Democratic Party, the proof of this is the rise of the Ilhan Omars, the AOCs, the Rashid Tlaibs, and then some of these Democrats who played Democrat roles for a while, who are now coming out and saying what they're saying, right? Like, well, you look at what we just talked about with Ted Cruz a second ago. You have a United States Senator that was very close to being one heartbeat away from the presidency, who is literally openly hating on people of faith in America. That's a guy that didn't just turn into this in the last week. That was there for a while. He faked it for probably years because he said, I can't say this out loud. There's a new comfort level with the left where they're just coming out and saying it. They're saying what we believe for decades, where they're saying what we believe. And by the way, also what they think about them. You know, I go back and look at the 80s. You look at Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan. There's a great book, by the way, if you're a political junkie like me, about the man who ran Washington. It's about James Baker. Phenomenal book. It's about this thick. And some of the fights in there, because remember, Democrats controlled the Congress at that point for like 35 years. Like, I mean, it was like you had to work together to get anything done. And Tip O'Neill would meet with Reagan. They'd fight it out, but they still both cared about America. They may have had different views on what to do, but they were willing to compromise. And that meant there were wins for Ronald Reagan when he was president. There were wins that were good for the country. But now what we have is we have this all-out civil war where no matter what I'm trying to do, even if I'm trying to stop kids from being molested, from being raped, Americans from being murdered, look at Washington, D.C. and the crime. Look at Chicago and the debate we're having right now. There is no doubt having more law enforcement on the streets is a good thing if you're in a dangerous city. If that is the National Guard, it's a good thing. And it works. Look at Washington, D.C. Look at the crime stats. But what are Democrats saying? Over our dead bodies, or actually our constituents' dead bodies, are we going to allow you to be successful in actually stopping crime because we think Orange Man is so bad that we are willing to have people die and lie about it because we don't want you to win? That is something that never happened. Whether Newt Gingrich is a great example. He worked with Bill Clinton in 1994 in the Contract with America. He got it done, but they did work together because I do think that Bill Clinton actually had a moment in his presidency where he did love the country. He wanted people to succeed. I don't think he's some evil man. I think he's a flawed man. There's no doubt about that. But he did love America. I think he still does. I should probably a better way of saying it. By the way, I think he's very different than Hillary Clinton. We can deal with that another day. But he would sit there with Newt Gingrich and Bob Dole, and they would work on things that were good for the country. That is gone. So now it's this weird thing where winner takes all. And it's go all out, and you have to assume that when you are not in power, the other side, if you're a conservative, is going to try to put you in jail. And that includes raiding a former president's home and trying to lock his kids up and try to bankrupt you. And that is unfortunately the reality. Look at New York right now in the mayor's race. You're going to have a declared socialist, a communist, who, if you go through the list of what he believes, I said this the other night on CNN. And I'm looking at my phone because it's such an amazing list. So I apologize for the 5-second me looking at my phone. But I was like, he wants to abolish the police department, not like bring it back a little bit. He wants to abolish it. And why? Because he says that we don't need cops and we shouldn't trust police officers. He also said these are all public statements. Some of them he's like walking back. He wants to abolish all prisons. He wants to abolish all medical bills. He wants to abolish private health insurance. He wants to ban all guns. He wants to legalize all sex work. He wants to have government sanctioned, sponsored, and your tax dollars paid for safe, quote, injection sites. He wants to end all bail. So you walk out there, Stephen, blow some guy's head off. We'll arrest you. We're going to put you right back on the street. We will not hold you. You go out and shoot another person in the head. He believes that you should still not stay in jail. How do we know this? Because he said it. He wants to end sentencing enhancements. And he says he wants to decriminalize all drug possession. And he says, if I'm elected mayor, I will refuse to cooperate with the federal government and ICE on all major crime issues, period. Now, he's going to win. Like the greatest city in America when it comes to kind of like foreigners wanting to come visit. It's a beautiful city. I spent a lot of time there. I love New York City. It's really cool. This is who's going to be running it now because so many sane voters have left. They left during COVID. They moved out. They went to other places like Texas and Florida and a lot of others in between. And so now this is all you have left. And that's the whole design. This is all by design. You make people go insane and then you control hellholes. You control Memphis, Tennessee, my hometown. All the people that can get out got out. As soon as you have the means, why are you going to have your kids in a failing school? Why are you going to have your kid in a place where you're more likely to be killed there than if you're in Afghanistan? Think about that. That's in America today. Detroit, New Orleans, Baltimore, the list, Chicago, the list goes on and on. And it's because they understand that once you get control, even if it's controlling people by crime, because good people leave, I don't have to deal with you anymore. Why is Mondani saying he's going to go after rent control and go after every wealthy businessman? And he doesn't want you there because if you're there, you can fight against him. You can raise money for another candidate. So it's easier to control hell than it is to actually do great things in a great city. And that's their game plan now.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. Yep. It's easier to control hell than actually do what's right for your city. Let me bring this up and get your thoughts on this. So a new email has come out in the last 24 hours. Breaking. Yeah. Biden White House emails seem to confirm Joe Biden himself did not review pardons before they were sent to the auto pen. The scandal just got much bigger. A top White House aide emailed colleagues saying Biden doesn't review the warrants and was seemingly befuddled by the legality of the clemency, which were being worked out the night on January 16th. An aide even wrote up a template for each pardon, pretending like Biden himself had verbally approved the pardon. Thousands of people were pardoned. Joe Biden knew nothing about it. Does this actually strengthen our case to throw out all of these auto pen pardons?
Yes, I think it absolutely does because they're supposed to come from the President of the United States of America. I also am one of those guys, call me cynical, but follow the money. I want to know what was the market rate for a pardon on the 16th? How much did that rate go up on the 17th? How much did it go up on the 18th? And how much did a pardon cost if you hadn't gotten one yet on the night of the 19th or the morning of the 20th? There is always politics and money involved in these types of decisions. There are major donors. There were promises that were made. I have no doubt that there are people that profited from having access to the auto pen, whether it's a future wink, wink, nod, nod on a new job, right? Or a board or consulting or whatever the hell it may be. Because this list was coming in so fast, it was like it was a marketing ploy, like it was a commercial on TV for some lawyer that's like, you've been in Iraq. It's like you commit a crime, call us now and we'll give you a pardon. That's what it feels like because that's what it was. There was no way to do this in an organized way. It was a bum rush the embassy while the city is falling and try to get me out and help me. And there was a time clock there and everybody knew it. It's like trying to get out of Saigon, right? Like everybody knew it was falling. I want to be on the last flight. What are you willing to give up to get on that flight? Well, if you're a convicted felon, if you're somebody that wants a pardon, like this was clearly, in my opinion, a some sort of either power to pay to play or just a straight up pay to play thing. So I want a full investigation. I also think that the president didn't know what the hell that you were even alive, wasn't involved in it, and it's a junior staffer that's giving you the pardon. That is not a presidential pardon. That is a person who is elected by no one that should have no power, but they found a pen that would auto pen write a name of the guy who is in charge, even though clearly he wasn't at the end. We know the cognitive decline. It's pretty obvious. And so this is not how America is supposed to be run. I support Republicans doing a full-on investigation into this. I think there should be heads that roll. I actually think there probably should be some people that should get arrested over this.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I would love that. I think Adam Schiff shouldn't have gotten a pardon. Dr. Fauci, Liz Cheney, many others, on top of the thousands of people. I mean, like,
well,
they
there
were
was
letting
violent criminals. There were violent criminals that
there
got
was a
pardons.
Chinese spy that went to jail for pedophilia, and that guy got out. Like, why on earth would Joe Biden release that person?
Yeah. Well, again, if you're well connected and you can promise something, it may be worth you walking over and going, auto pin, here we go, and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he could just order it from Delaware, like ordering a pizza, release this person. Okay. Final question, Ben. I appreciate you coming on. The left is calling President Trump a war criminal for defending our southern border out in international waters. The military was watching a group of narco terrorists out of Venezuela. They watched them load the boats with drugs to come on. They were trying to hit somewhere along the southern coast. With the amount of drugs that they have, we're talking thousands of Americans that would have died based on those drugs. Those people end up getting bombed and dying. Now Trump is being called a war criminal for actually defending the United States and thousands of people that have died. I read today that they believe they can link nearly 1 million deaths to Venezuelan narco terrorists over the last decade. Your thoughts on him taking action on that?
Yeah, this is what I call Donald Trump FAFO diplomacy. You FAFO, and this is what you get. He said he was going to treat you like a terrorist. He signed that executive order declaring that you're a terrorist organization day one when he was sworn in. You should have believed him when he said it. And unfortunately, in the past, even going back to Reagan years, we have treated the drug cartels and the drug trafficking as a legal issue, right? We catch you, we indict you, we try to bring you to America. We saw this in Venezuela with a former leader, right? We've seen this before when El Chapo or whoever it may be, right? We want to get them to America. And I'm sorry, it's a waste of time. It's not working. You have to kill these people. And they are terrorists. And the number one killer in America of younger men and women in this country is accidental, and that's the most important thing, accidental overdoses. If you're shooting up heroin, for example, and you take too much, there's a lot of bad choices that got you there. When you're a kid that's 14 and you go to a friend's house and they think they have Ritalin or Adderall, or in college, I talked to a mother recently. Their child died studying for finals at an Ivy League school. There was another kid who had Ritalin, and he was trying to stay up to study, pulled the all-nighter. By the way, I'll admit it. I did this in college once. I was dating someone that had Adderall. I was needing it because I was going to stay up all night. I not the best thing in the world to do, but I wasn't the only one that did it. It was not to abuse a drug. It wasn't to get high. It was to study and get ready so you could move on in your test. And there were thousands of kids that did that when I was in school. And the scary part is somebody goes out and buys that thinking it is Ritalin or Adderall, and they take it and they drop dead. I mean, look at Narcan right now. Go Google, anyone watching, Narcan, and Google stories about all of these sheriff's departments and police departments that their yearly allotment for Narcan is running out in 2 to 3 months because there's that many people that are accidentally taking something with no intent to put their life at risk that is laced with fentanyl. The DEA, for example, yesterday, you had in 1 week up in the Boston area, 174 members of the largest drug cartel in the world, the Trinidad gang from Venezuela, who were arrested there. And what he said was, guess what they were selling a lot of? They were selling a lot of fake Ritalin and Adderall pills. So these kids go out there, they take it, cost them their life. Their life. This is what terrorists do. And they know it when they're making these pills. It's not an accident. They mix them quickly. But the DEA agent said they can't even tell the difference. They cannot tell the difference between the prescription pill and the drug cartel, the narcos terrorist pill, side by side. And they do it every day. And that's what's happening. And that's why so many people are dying. So look, the president going out there and making it clear, not only am I going to hit you, but I'm going to put it on video and I'm going to let you see it. We also have now been told that they're sending a bunch of F-22s down to continue the fight. I think it's amazing towards Puerto Rico. Like finally, the war on drugs is literal. Donald Trump is literally going to war with the drug cartels and the narco terrorists. and he doesn't care what they say politically because they're a terrorist organization. They're killing Americans. We should all be outraged. And I say to Donald Trump, this will be his legacy. God bless him. You know, a lot of people don't know this about Donald Trump. I was hit by a drunk driver when I was a kid. That drunk driver was 17. He died. We lived. Came through the windshield. It was awful. I'm not a drinker because of that. Donald Trump has seen addiction. And I don't know if you know this about him, but he doesn't drink. He drinks Diet Coke. And it's very personal with him. Alcoholism, drug abuse, you can see it from his kids. He instilled in them, we don't do this. Be careful. This is dangerous. He also has compassion for addiction because he's witnessed it firsthand. And so when he hears and sits down with these parents whose kids died in an accidental overdose with no intent to do something like heroin or meth or whatever it may be that got them on a long road, he sees it as a war on these children. And he's going to stop it. And I think this is going to probably be the biggest legacy of his presidency is going to be that.
Yeah. I read that under Biden, nearly as many Americans died from the cartel's drugs as World War II.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And
without a shot being fired.
Yeah. And just this week, the FBI, 420,000 pounds of the precursor drug for fentanyl coming from China.
Yeah.
For methamphetamines, 1,300 barrels of the precursor drug. So, it's very, these people can say, oh, Donald Trump is this heartless person. Well, if those drugs get into America and they kill a whole bunch of kids, who's heartless now? Like, why does the Democrat Party want to protect criminals? It makes no sense to my brain.
But yeah, that's exactly what they're doing every day, whether it's Governor Pritzker in the Chicago mayor, whether it's New York, the list goes on and on. They're not putting Americans first. They're putting criminals first. And I'll leave you with this thought. You go back to the Biden crime family, and we know that millions of dollars came in from China, the CCP, and people that were individuals that were connected to the CCP in the Biden family dealings. We know the Bidens were bought and paid for by the Chinese. We know that the Biden library was bought and paid for and controlled by the Chinese. We know all of this. And you ask yourself the question, was that what they paid for? The access to the drugs coming in this country and the billions they could make? They're also killing Americans, which China loves. Like, they have no heart for Americans. They have no soul when it comes to American lives. If you don't believe me, look at COVID. They lied the entire time, knowing they were going to kill probably countless people around the world, which is what happened. They don't care about their own people, by the way, and they don't care when they die either. So if they don't care about their own people dying, why do you think they care about us? It's all about the money to them. And so Biden knew this amount of drugs was coming in. And what did he do? He literally sent forklifts down to the southern border in Texas when they put the barbed wire up to try to stop the flow of the drugs and the human trafficking, sex trafficking, the child molestation, and the child trafficking. And what did he do? He put those forklift skid lifter underneath it, and he lifted it up and said, come on in. That is a man that I believe was bought and paid for by the Chinese Communist Party. They controlled him, and that was for their business, because no sane president would ever send a forklift down to the border to allow people on the terrorist watch list to come into the United States of America, and we have it on video.
Yeah. Wow. I'm so glad he's out.
Amen to that.
Oh, man.
Amen.
Ben, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on. If people want to catch your show, what links can I put down below?
Yeah, if they can, the 47 morning update, if you want to know what's going on out of the White House every day in a short, quick format, it's a 10 to 12 minute podcast. So the biggest stories come out of the White House every day. That's my new one that I'm doing. It's really, really fun. It's fast paced. I do the Ben Furgosen podcast, which is much more kind of like this conversation, deep dive into stories. And then Verdict with Ted Cruz. I co-host that podcast 3 days a week with Senator Cruz. And so you can obviously download that wherever, and then follow me on social media. I try to post a lot of fun, good stuff. So on X, it's Ben Furgosen Show. On Instagram, Ben Furgosen Podcast. And if you're on Facebook, it's just throw in Ben Furgosen. Bam, it's there. So thanks, man, for letting me promote that. And everybody watching, thanks for watching and supporting you as well. And conservatives like us that do this, and we love doing it.
Yeah, we do. Well, thank you very much. I'll put those links down below and have you on in the future. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks for having me, man.